Hey everybody, this is Tom at Buxton Auto. I got another video for you today. Today is just kind of walking you through the process of what I do when I go to look at a car to buy. As you've probably seen, if you follow my channel, you know that I'm not a big fan of dealer auctions. In general, I think we're kind of an obnoxious group of people, which might get me in trouble with some of my dealer friends. But they all know everything. They're all smarter than you. They smell funny. A lot of gold chains and Hawaiian shirts, and a lot of curry on the breath. None of those are things that I think are cool. So I probably buy half, maybe 2/3 of my cars from individuals, not from the dealer auction. Now I have a way of sourcing cars where people actually are calling me, which is cool. And so I'm going out to look at these cars, and as I've just put up videos about the best $5,000 car, the worst $5,000 car, I figure you might be in the market for a $5,000 or less car. So I wanted to show people the things that I do when I go look at a used car to sort of hedge my bets and hopefully not get burned too badly. I want to start out by saying if you're looking at a $5,000, a $3,000, a $2,000 car, the lower the price, the lower the expectation needs to be. And I only say that because when I sell $2,000, $3,000 cars, I find that a lot of people have the expectation of a more expensive car. They think that for whatever reason it's just going to be cheaper, and that's just not how it is. So I'm going to take you outside. We'll look at my car as an example, and I'll show you some of the things that I look at when I'm buying a car, just to sort of get some clues as to what's going on, talk to the seller a little bit in conversation, and also do my own research. One of the tools I have that I use is a $20, $30 scanner that I got on Amazon. It's nowhere near what we use here in the shop, but it's good for checking the OBD2 codes. If the check engine light's on and you live in a state that has an emissions test, then obviously that has to be fixed before you can get your emissions test and your registration. So what happens a lot of times with people selling crappy little old used cars is they'll disconnect the battery, and those codes will go away. They won't come back on for 20, 30 miles, and you're on down the road and they've got your money and the deal's done. So I use the code reader. One, if there's a check engine light, I want to know what I'm going to have to fix. If it's going to be a catalytic converter or something like that, that's a good negotiation tool because those are expensive. Also, it will tell me if the car is ready to be read, which means that the battery has not been disconnected. Now, I don't ever call anybody out on this when I see it. What I usually say is, did the battery recently go dead? Or did you recently put this battery in? Because they know that you know, and there's no point making a jerk of it. You also want to look for clues about the car. When I first roll up to their house to look, as I'm walking up to their house, I'm not only looking where the car is parked, but I'm looking at other parking places that car could use. If there's an oil slick in any one place, then there's a decent chance they moved the car before you got there so that you wouldn't see that there was an oil slick. If you're concerned about oil leaks and things like that, I would take a piece of flat cardboard with me, slide it out into the engine and transmission of that car, and then when you get ready to do your inspection, and once you start the car, you let it run a while and you see if anything drops out on your cardboard. Again, not the end of the world. You're looking at a cheap car. Cheap cars need things. I always also want to look in the trunk and see if there's actually a spare tire and if there's tools for the spare tire. Especially if it's a car that you're going to drive, you're going to want to make sure you have a spare in the event you get a flat tire. We actually bought my wife a car at the auction, now it's like a year and a half ago. And I just now went and looked back there, and guess what? No spare tire. So we got to get that addressed. But always check there and then see if the tools are there. And while you're in the trunk, see if there's other things in the trunk. A lot of the cars that I buy, people don't drive them daily anymore, so they kind of forget what might be there. If in the back seat of the car or in the trunk, there's an inordinate amount of oil cans or jug of antifreeze, more than what somebody might just keep for a backup, that's a pretty good indicator that car has got a radiator leak or bad oil leak or bad transmission leak. So just kind of be cognizant of what's in the car, because you'd be surprised, a lot of people, they don't clean their car out when they're ready to sell it. At least the ones that are calling me because they want to sell me the car. Those people, sometimes these cars are a damn mobile storage unit. Anyway, let's go outside. It is a little cold and windy today, so hopefully the wind noise won't be too crazy. I'll show you a few things that I look at when I go to buy a used car. Maybe it helps you. I hope it does. And I'll catch up to you when I get outside. Okay, here we go. So this is my car. It's a car I drive every day. I want to show you, one, where fluids are and what to look for in them, and then we'll move a little bit further along. Not super important, but here's your windshield washer fluid. You want to see if it has fluid in it, and then obviously you'll try that. Getting along here, this is your master cylinder for your brakes. It tells you right here it takes .3 fluid. And what's important here is you got a minimum and a max range. So you want to look and you want to make sure that it has fluid. I've found that overall, if people are skimpy on fluids or their fluids look terrible, it's kind of an indicator of the care that the car might have received. What you'll do is you'll look in here. The darker the fluid, the older the fluid. It gets dark just as a sign of use. It actually looks like a light beer when it's brand new, and then it looks like a lager when it's not. As long as there's pressure on the brakes, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay. Over here is your engine coolant. It's always a little tank. Usually it's got a little hose that runs into your radiator. It's very important, if it is hot or has recently been driven, do not open it. It's under pressure, it will burn you. Hopefully the car wasn't running before you got to look at it. What you're going to do is you're going to get in here and you're going to look down there. Now this particular car is a GM car. It takes an orange type fluid. What you want to look for is not only is there fluid, does the fluid appear to be the right color, orange or green in some cars. You want to make sure that it does not look like a milkshake or a vanilla latte, because that would indicate the car has a blown head gasket and is going to need serious work, and you should pass on it. Also, you want to check the lid for the coolant tank, because as this builds up under pressure, you would get a caramel colored froth around here that would tend to stick to the cap. Again, that's an indicator of a blown head gasket. The car has been overheated and the repair is spency, probably like $1,500. Don't buy any sort of, oh, just dump this fluid in or that fluid in and it's going to fix it. That's all crap. Another thing I look at is the battery of the car. Now this one's kind of hidden. It's up here kind of underneath the fender a little bit. But almost every battery has a sticker, my finger's in the way, that says when the battery was sold. Mine is one of 23. So that tells you the battery's fairly new. Now you want to look at the condition of the battery. If it looks bad on the outside, it's probably old. Maybe it's a car that will start, but if you wait 2 days without driving it, it's not going to start. Totally a possibility. So just something to think about. Batteries these days are about $150 to $200. Oil filler, same sort of thing. Take off the cap. Is it just plain black or is it discolored? All right. This one yellow is your engine oil. You'll pull it out. You'll, one, make sure that they have the adequate amount of oil in it, and two, you'll want to look at the color. Let me see if I can get a good camera angle here. So this is mine. The car is on an incline, but the oil is full. We just did an oil change a little while ago, so we're good there. Now, some cars have a transmission dipstick and some do not. This particular truck does. It's right here. Same thing. You're going to pull it out and you're going to take a look. Transmission fluid starts out pink and goes darker the older it is. However, These cars go about 50,000 miles without needing their transmission serviced, so darker fluid is entirely a possibility. But you do want to sniff the end of this thing and see if it smells burned. And I don't think you can read this on this dipstick, but it has a place for hot and cold fluid levels. Generally with a transmission, you will start the car first and then check the transmission fluid. When you're checking engine oil, that's checked while the car is turned off. Okay. Another thing you got to think about when you're buying a cheap car is tires. Okay? Now, people say, oh, you do the penny test and you can see how much tread there is. These have a good bit of tread on them. Again, this is my car. Chances are, when you are going to look at a used car, you are going to find oddball tires, meaning, you know, made by 3 different manufacturers. There may or may not be a decent amount of tread. One thing to look at is when were the tires made? How old are they? Every tire has a 4-digit code. If you look here, this circled 4-digit code, let's see if I can zoom in and get it for you. It says 0120. That means this tire was made January of 2020. Industry people say 5 years is about the life of the tire, even if the tread is good. So this being my car, it's fine for now. I'll probably get tires later this year. Now, on the front tires, you want to look in here like this, and you want to see if they're worn down on this side or this side. That could be an indication of an alignment problem. Now, what a lot of people will tell you is, oh, it just needs an alignment. Well, why does it just need an alignment? Does it just need an alignment because why? You hit a curb and bent something and threw your alignment out? Or your front end, which could potentially be rather expensive to fix, is worn out, and that means you'll be spending a bunch of money there. Something to consider. Sorry for the buzzing. Now let me see if I can do this with one hand. So, this is my handy dandy OBD2 reader. Let me turn the key on. Now, again, I bought this on Amazon, and you do not have to buy an expensive one. So let's start out. I've plugged it in. Okay, let's go to OBD2, and we're going to do a scan. All right, here's what's important to see. It did say, let me see if I can go back to it. What I want to show you is this. All right, if you look here, it first said on the screen that there were no codes present. So that means there's no errors and there are no check engine light on. If you scroll down through this screen, it'll tell you all these systems that are part of your emissions test have checked out okay. All right. In my car, there's 2 here that say NA, not applicable. So this car is old enough, it does not have that system. All right. NAs you don't worry about. If you put this code reader on and it comes back and says, you know, let me do it this way. Let's look here. Again, this is like $20 and well worth it. Okay, codes found 0, monitors not applicable 4, monitors okay 7. The last one was monitors incomplete. So an incomplete monitor could mean that they changed the battery, they disconnected the battery to try to hide from you that there was a problem with the car, something of that nature. Again, I wouldn't be a weenie about it, but it does give you a little bit of insight. So that's that. I would do all of those things before I drive the car, okay? If you're worried about big oil leaks, you can put a piece of cardboard or a piece of newspaper underneath the car while you're doing your inspection. You generally want to do that after the car is running, because usually the oil leaks tend to stop some when there's no pressure. So you're going to drive the car. You're going to check the air conditioner. You're going to check the heater. You're going to check the windshield wipers. All the things that you know you're going to need to drive a car safely. When you're driving the car, don't turn the radio on. You want to listen to the car. Does the motor make a funny noise? Does the transmission make a funny noise? Does the rear end make a funny noise? When you're driving the car, does it veer hard to the right? Does it veer to the left? Does the steering wheel shimmy when you put your foot on the brake? That's an indicator that the brake rotors are warped. So don't be worried about your radio. Be worried about your car. These are some of the tricks. No, they're not tricks. These are some of the things I do when I'm checking out a cheap car. Keep in mind, it is cheap. What cheap means is there are going to be things that you're going to need to fix. So the purpose of this video is just to let you know or inform yourself how to find these things, or at least have a better understanding of these things, so that when you buy the car, you make an offer that fits your budget, and if they accept it, great, and if they don't, it's okay. If you only have $2,000, do not go buy a $2,000 car. You know why? Because something's going to go wrong with that car and you're going to have no money to fix it. Plan that there's going to be things that are wrong with the car, and that might be part of why people are selling it. Most every car I buy needs a lot of work, and that's okay, because for me, I own a shop and I can get the stuff fixed cheap and quick and ready to go. And I recognize a value to that. To a guy that's a do-it-yourselfer that has some general mechanic knowledge, that's probably fine too. If you're not someone that knows a lot about cars, or you don't have a lot of money, be very careful and cautious and save some money back, because there's going to be a problem. We just don't know what the problem is yet. All right, there we go. Tom's little tips, suggestions, talking points, whatever you'd like to say about what I look at when I go to buy a used car. Also, if you're buying the car from an individual, make sure that you get a good title. I have a video on that in my past videos. If I'm smart enough, I'll add it to the end card here. How do you get a proper signed title? And then I'll put in my description a link to the form for the application for title. And also the website mytexascar.org. If you are a Texas resident, you can go to that website, you can put in the vehicle's VIN number, and it will tell you if on the last inspection that the car had, what the mileage was. So if it's useful information. And I use it because, again, a lot of the cars that I buy have been off the road for a while. I'll put it in there because I want to know what the mileage was at the last inspection, and also how long the last inspection was. Has the car been off the road 2 years? If it's been off the road 2 years, they're not driving it. The price is probably a little bit cheaper. If you're showing up at an old man's house and he sold this car because he got a new one and he's maintained it very well, that's probably not an issue. Also, if that's the kind of customer or buyer, seller, whatever the hell you are, if that's the kind of seller you've found, you probably want to pay up. Because one of the things that people need to remember is cheap is not always the best value, okay? If you went and looked at a $2,000 Honda Accord and you found out that the front end was wore out and it needed $800 worth of front end work, and that worn out front end ate up your 2 tires on the front, and they'd already rotated them front to back because this has been going on for a while, and now you need 4 new tires for $600, and you're going to do that work and you're going to have $4,000 in that car. And another Honda Accord is $3,500, which is more than the first one, but the tires are good, the alignment's good, the air blows cold. You're probably better off paying a little more up front and getting a little better car. You don't always get what you pay for, but I found in general, the cheaper the car, the more expensive to fix. We joke around here that usually when we buy a car, that's the cheapest part of the experience for us. So anyway, check the link down below. You can download the Texas application for title if you're a Texas resident. You take that with you when you go to buy the car. The seller may not have one. There's going to be a video about titles to look at. How to do a private party sale is one of my videos, and properly signed title is a video. I'll try to link one or both of those there. And good luck to you on your cheap car hunt. I appreciate y'all watching. I think I was probably a little wordy this time. It is what it is. Appreciate y'all watching. I'd really appreciate a like, a subscribe. If you have comments or questions, hit me with those. I do my best to answer them all. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.